Well, hello, this is Leslie Denman, Creative Experience Officer here at Bold Faith Candle Company. Welcome back, part 3 of things you should know before starting your candle business. Part 1 was all about the why. Part 2 was about your messaging and your target audience. So if you haven't had an opportunity to view those yet, push pause now, go back and watch them. This makes so much sense because we're building on something here. My goal is to help you start a profitable and sustainable business. And the things that we are learning together here are best practices that no matter the business will help you build a solid foundation. Every successful business started right here where we are. And so I want to celebrate you for being here. And I know that this could be quite challenging and sometimes overwhelming. And so invest in your business. Hire you a professional coach or a mentor, a business mentor that focuses on startup, and do the work. It makes it so much easier. So many times we say we want to start something and we get out there, we do it, and we just, it's like, okay, I didn't know that I needed to know that. And so we end up backtracking because we soon realize that a confused buyer does not buy. So it's important that you know your why. It's important that you understand who you're creating your candle for so you can share your story. And now let's talk about the vessels that we're going to use. And I'm really praying that I could stay on task here because y'all know I get so excited talking to y'all and I could jump ahead. But I'm going to try to stay on task when it comes to the vessel. There are a couple of things I want us to really think about because there is no shortage of amazing vessels out there. I mean, some of the most beautiful vessels out there. But we have to recognize where we are in our business. And by that I mean the budget that we're working with, how we are setting up our business. Is it a sole proprietorship, a LLC? Have we invested in a site, an e-commerce site yet? All of that is going to have an impact on the money we have readily available for our vessels, which takes up a huge part of our budget when it comes to our candle business, right? It's kind of hard to have a candle without a vessel, right? But then how do you choose the best vessel? I'm glad you asked, because it's not just about the aesthetics, the beauty of the vessel. It's also about the availability of the vessel. If you are using a vessel that a lot of people are using, then the law of supply and demand means that, that vessel is in high demand, which can also cause, if it's high demand and limited supply, then that means that you will see out of stock on a lot of the suppliers' website because everyone is making a mad dash to the website when it becomes in stock. And depending on where you are on your pay cycle, that might be a week that you didn't get paid. I mean, let's just be realistic about it. And then by the time you get paid and you go back and look, it's out of stock. That could be very frustrating. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing to consider is the supplier's location, like East Coast or West Coast, and where you are. And shipping, if you haven't experienced it already, shipping can eat up your budget. It really can eat up your budget. And then when you're looking at your vessel, another thing you need to consider is the quantity of the vessel. There are some beautiful vessels and they consider a case just six vessels. And it's like, okay, I thought I was at least gonna get 12, but no. And then there are some that consider a case 18, some consider a case 24. So you have to really do your research. And not only is this vessel beautiful, and the shipping and handling is, but then it's like, I'm only going to get 4 or 6 or, I get 12 or I get 24. So it's not always a negative. You just have to compare apples to apples so that you can get the best bang for your buck. So we talked about the type of vessel, the availability. We talked about the availability of the vessel, quantity that's available to it, shipping and handling we must consider. And then another thing that we must consider is the texture and type of vessel. And by that I mean you find the right vessel, but it has some type of texturing on it, and your label doesn't adhere to it too well. And you didn't really think about that until it was time to label it. Because again, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And so now it's like, oh my gosh, has anybody had any success with putting label on this vessel? But we want to again, we want to be proactive and we want to think about all of these factors before we invest in a vessel. Sometimes the prettiest vessel may have to wait, and you have to get a functional vessel that really still speaks to your brand, because some vessels are pretty, but if we look at our target audience, they may want something that kind of fits into their decor. You know, their decor is black, so they don't really want a orange candle. And then I'm getting it. See, I was just going to get ahead of myself. I had to catch myself. Ooh. But if your vessels are of a different color, then they may really like your candles, but they just don't want that particular vessel. And then they may say to you, well, do you have it in black? And then here you go into the website to buy black, but you only have one person that says they like black. And are they going to buy? Are they raving fans? Because I'm all for customer service and delivering, but this is just one person to ask the question. But if you are true, like many of us, we think, okay, well, do I really need to do black? But see, but when you know your target audience and you realize, okay, there's one person that asked for black, or there's been a few people that asked for black, maybe I should consider that. Or maybe I should add a different collection. But you want to start with what I call your standard or signature collection. That's you. That's your brand, your story. You can always add others later, but your vessel that you're choosing, you want to take that into consideration. Because there's nothing like when you finally have your funds together to invest in your vessel that they're sold out and you got to wait. And that could be very frustrating. Then you feel like, okay, well, now I got to go and find another vessel. And true, this could happen to any vessel, but when you are clear about your vessel, now you can start budgeting. Okay, now I know that 12 costs this much, and so I know I'm gonna have to take some of those out to test. So now that's gonna leave me with, depending, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself again, but you know you're gonna have to take some out to test. And that's gonna eat into what you may have to sell, right? So now it's like, okay, if it costs I'm just gonna throw out some numbers. I don't know. I'm gonna throw out some number. Maybe it costs you $10 to buy a case. Well, then you could budget, okay, I need to have at least, let me just save up and get 3 cases. That way, if there is a shortage and I have some orders, I can at least get started with some, or maybe 4 cases. So you want to budget that out. And then you got to put the labeling on it. So you want to budget that into it. And then another thing you have to consider is, does the vessel come with the lid? Many times, if they're selling vessels, 6, 12, many times, depending on the vessel, it does not come with the lid. The lid is extra. And so that's another added cost you got to factor. And you can't buy, many times you can't buy just 6 lids or just 12 lids. Those lids are kind of sold in cases of 100, 144. And you're thinking, but I don't need 144. I just need 12 for this order. Or I just want to start off with 12. So if I buy 144 lids, then that means I'm going to have to buy 144 vessels. And I'm just not there yet. So again, you see how you got to take all of these things into consideration. And then if you talk to your target audience, you may decide that, hey, we don't really care about the lid anyway. I mean, as soon as I start burning it, I don't even know what the lid is. I just blow it out and leave it open until the next time. So you have to consider those things as well. Do you necessarily have to have a lid? Can you use a dust cover? And how readily available is that? And so again, can you see all the factors that come into it? And so not only that, you want to get a vessel that just speaks to your story and your brand, and that still looks pleasing, can fit in almost any decor. And then we talk about the sizing of the vessel. Do I start off with an 8 ounce, a 10 ounce, a 12 ounce, a 16 ounce? And what I say is, when you're starting out, the bigger the vessel, the more fragrance, the more wax. So use discernment and wisdom when you're getting started. I started with a happy medium. When I looked at the different candles, I think I did I looked at the different vessels. I think I did I'm almost positive I did a video when I got some from Dream Vessel and somewhere else. I did a video just sharing my initial thoughts on it. And I thought that I think the pink vessel that I show, I still to this day, maybe a year later, I have not even used those vessels, because I took all of these things that I'm sharing with you into consideration, and I realized that's not going to be the best choice for my business just starting out. So what I ended up with was this, known in the candle industry as what? The Dollar Tree jar, right? The Dollar Tree jar. And look at it though, when you think about it, and I tell you my story, how I am like, kind of a simple girl, but yet powerful and confident. This is me. Most people compliment me on how it's simple, but very got an elegant feel. And this fits into any decor. It's kind of there, but not there, right? And that's what you want. And you see, it doesn't have a lid. But I was able to find a shop on Etsy that had lids designed just for this jar. And so I had to take that into consideration. And at the time, this jar was readily available at almost every Dollar Tree. If it wasn't there, then I would go on the website and I would order it and go pick it up from the store. Well, that's changed since the pandemic. I don't know what has happened, but I cannot find this vessel anywhere in a Dollar Tree. But luckily, I stay in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so my trusted suppliers, Lone Star Candle Supply and Waxy Flower, formerly AAA, they have these in stock. Or if they happen to be out of stock, it won't be soon before they're back in stock. And so this works for me. And it's just enough. This is a 12-ounce vessel, but it holds about 10 ounces of wax. And so that's a happy medium for me. Just enough to fill a room for people who may have kind of a large space, but then it's not, it's powerful, but it's not overpowering. And it's at a price point that my target audience, they readily can invest in. And so this had actually 3 sizes. They have a 16 ounce and they have a 7 ounce. And when I initially launched, I launched with those 3 sizes. But then after listening to my target audience and watching the sales, I realized that the 7 ounce really didn't sell. And so I discontinued the 7 ounce and I moved to this one, which is a 9 ounce jar. And I get these off of Amazon. A 9 ounce jar that holds about 7 ounces or so of wax. And this one has been well received by my target audience. And I typically only really showcase these when I am in person, like live events and stuff. Though it's on my website, I don't really show this vessel. My main vessel that I promote and target my signature collection is this right here. And so again, just wanted to share with you something else you need to consider when you are starting your candle business when it comes to your vessel. It's not always about how pretty the vessel is. Yes, we want to produce a nice candle, but we also want to be mindful that we are watching our bottom line, our break even, and our profit margin. We want that in our business because the goal is what? To grow a profitable and sustainable business. And so think about that when it comes to your vessel. Think about the availability of the vessel. Think about the shipping and handling of the vegetable. I'm talking about vegetable of the vessel. Think about if it comes with the lid. Think about how the quantity, how many you get in there, and how quickly it comes. And again, just the overall look and feel of the candle when it's a finished product, and you got to put your label on it. Does a label affix to it well, or is it buckle up here and there? We don't want that. We want an aesthetically pleasing candle that, again, remember, a confused buyer does not buy. So make sure that you present a candle that resonates with your target audience, that fits in your budget, that's readily available, or if it happens to be sold out, it comes back in stock quickly, that the shipping and handling is fairly reasonable, especially if you're able to buy in bulk. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but I want to just share with you that when you are creating your budget for your supplies, your candle supplies, if you notice, if you get a candle that is 6 to a case, that's going to eat up a lot of your budget, because on average you want to keep at least a case to half a case of each fragrance in your collection. And so if you are buying in quantities of 6, that could be quite pricey. But if you know that you can get a case of 12 and it's averaging about 25, 26, maybe $30, then you know that, okay, for $100 to $120, I can keep a case of case of vessel on hand at all times. So if I happen to get an order, most people, unless it's a huge order, most people may order 2, 3, 4 candles at a time, and you have your supply ready. You don't have to place an order and expedite to ship it or run to the store and get it. You have your products, your supplies ready and available. So think about that when it comes to your vessels. I hope this has been helpful. Share any aha moments, and go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss part 4 of things you should know before you start your candle business. Until our next conversation, stay bold, stay beautiful, and stay blessed. See you soon.